So hello everyone. Today I will be talking about some of the print surfaces and the options you have in your printer. I'll be talking over some of their strengths and weaknesses and help you decide which one's good for you. So I'll start by talking about my personal favorite and the one I use. It's polycarbonate, and as you can see I have sanded it a lot. With some sandpaper obviously, and it works very great, but it has one big disadvantage that I will talk about. But for a start, polycarbonate is excellent for people who want to print ABS to the point where you don't even need brims. There is no way this will warp. If your room or enclosure is cold, it might crack, but it will never warp with this. And after it's done, you can easily just take it out with a spatula. And this also works great for PLA, if you are interested in printing that, and you obviously are. Who the hell doesn't print PLA? And yeah, TPU 6 grade in my experience, maybe I'm just lucky. And PETG also sticks great, just as long as you don't get too close because it will bond permanently. This is literally a piece of PETG that I had to sand down to even out the surface because it stuck so well. But that was my fault because it was very close, like way too close. And not surprisingly, polycarbonate adheres excellently to this, and if you're careful, it won't over adhere to the point where it bonds to it, especially if you sand it like I do. And I used a little bit of PVA glue as a release agent. I will talk about that part in the end of the video. But this is a really excellent print surface. But as I mentioned, it comes with a big disadvantage that I've been also trying to solve, by the way. And that is that it will warp like crazy. When you first buy this, it is very likely to be flat. But the moment you start heating it up, it will warp like hell. Well, for a small printer, you can just put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clips around the thing and you can call it a day. And it's good for most part. On a 300 by 300 printer especially, I've never tried it, it's just a theory on the 200. On a 300 by 300 printer, it will be a lot of annoyance. And although you could use a probe, it's still not good and perfect. So there is a way to counter that, and the way is to... This one is a theory, I haven't tried it, but you could, which I'm going to try by the way once Corona ends, is that you can get a really thin sheet of polycarbonate and just use double-sided tape on the entire thing. Then it won't be strong enough to pull it like this. Your bed will keep it, nice and flat for you. You can even tape it over glass using double-sided tape. One note is to make sure it's really high. It's the high temperature kind. I think this card Triumph 428p. You should just Google it. It's very easy. Just use the glue, the double-sided tape they use for print surfaces that you already buy. But yeah. This is one on theory, but on this one I've actually even used it on this one, on the middle only. Like, tape the 4 corners, use it in the middle. And it did work, but I didn't get much of a chance with it because once I heated it up further, it started melting because I can't find high temperature glue tape in my country, so I can't help you there, sadly. Almost forgot to mention what it doesn't stick to. Acetal obviously doesn't stick to this, nylon doesn't stick to this. And that's the ones I've tried really. Polycarbonate sticks with very well, as I said, but acetal and nylon, just like anything, nylon pretty much in my experience only sticks to Garolite, which is only in the theory. I've heard it from other people. Oh, and I forgot to show you the print quality, the bottom surface you will get out of polycarbonate sheet if you sand it will look like this. Insert image here. Hey, insert the image here. Okay, now for the next one. The next one I would like to talk about is build tack, or in some cases clone tack if you're one of those nasty cloners. Haha, just kidding, don't worry, we all clone sometimes. And this is a random, weird, crappy magnetic one I just bought because it was cheap and I wanted to experiment. It sucks, don't buy one of these. These are like the worst things you can ever buy. I mean the magnetic kind, build tack I will talk about. But Buildtac is, in terms of properties, very, very similar to polycarbonate, except a lot better in some areas. Although it sticks a little bit too much, sometimes that can be actually a great thing for if you're a company maybe who doesn't afford to lose long prints on their printer and detach. You want to be really sure that your print wants to stick. This is a great thing. And actually a good tip about this CloneTac or Buildtac is that unlike 99% of the print surfaces that you find, you have to actually remove your prints while it's hot on these. Not like super hot to the point where it deforms, but like you have to, like, say, remove PLA once it's done immediately or heat it up again before removing. This sticks excellently to all the stuff I mentioned before, including ABS. Maybe not as good to ABS actually, but it's still more than good enough, trust me. And this is actually one of my favorites because it might be annoying with the over adhesion sometimes, but it's just so reliable. You know, you're just never gonna have a print peel off. I literally, one of the things I do with the new sheets is I smear my hands and, have a little bit of lotion on them. Maybe I don't know if this is a smart thing to do, but I just smear my hands all over them purposely to reduce the adhesion. And it usually starts off sticking too well in the case of these CloneTacs, because I never can buy actually genuine ones, but they start off too adhesive, and after a while of using them, they wear down to be very nice. This is true with the polycarbonate too, strangely. I guess I have heard it's a mixture of polycarbonate, actually. Interesting fact. I've heard this also has polycarbonate mixture with some other stuff that I don't know, but yeah. This is pretty much the polycarbonate, only a little bit textured and a little bit too intense. I honestly recommend this usually over the polycarbonate, especially since those CloneTacs get very cheap. But I recommend you try them anyway. They have some disadvantages that are hard to explain, like the adhesion. You gotta see it for yourself, see if you want to deal with that. It sticks too well sometimes. Of course, the brands are different. Like this shitty one doesn't even stick properly to anything, and when I put my nozzle too close, it actually stuck too well that I can't even take it off. Don't buy one of those Make Daddy ones, they're crap. And I forgot to mention how gorgeous the bottom surface looks with Buildtac. Like seriously, it's a million times better than textured Prusa ones I've seen. It's the right texture of not too textured, but just textured enough to fit in with the rest of the print. It doesn't feel alien to the rest of the print, and I just love the texture of Buildtac. It's just, the bottom surface or texture is purely personal preference, but for me, it's absolutely gorgeous. It just feels so good to rub your hands over it. Hey, future Amy, and I forgot to mention one big disadvantage of both, to a bigger degree Buildtac and to some degree polycarbonate sheets, and that is they're very fragile. You can easily, this is mostly, the scratching is true for Buildtac, and you can easily scratch Buildtac while using a spatula very easily, and it ruins it and it goes wide and it forever ruins the bottom surface of your print, so it's very fragile. And the genuine ones are expensive, so that makes it worse. Not so much of an issue on polycarbonate. And the big disadvantage is that if you get your nozzle close or even touch it just for a second, it can create a really horrible hole in your print surface because it will just melt it instantly. So to keep that in mind. If you ever print a little too close, or I shouldn't say a little, if you print ever too close, you will have permanently have created a kind of track of your print into the print surface. So that's very bad. So let me mention the very popular print surface, PEI. Well, I don't have one, but I've read a lot about them because they're so common. Sadly, you can't buy them in my country. I have not seen any store have it in stock. But if you feel like buying or trying PEI, I've read a lot about it. So hopefully I can help you in the top of my memory. At least I have a little page open there, just in case. Well, to start off, PEI is known to adhere very well when it's warm and release it really easily when it's cold. For PLA, it's, from what I know, very good. For ABS, it's still good enough. You might need a brand, but it's very good. Polycarbonate is something I've seen nobody have luck with PEI. So if you want to print polycarbonate, stay away. TPU, of course, sticks to it, but you gotta be a little bit careful. And the reason is I've heard it sticks too well to polycarbonate. So there's a little solution for that. You can smear kind of like PVA glue or hot glue. Like, sorry, I said hot glue. I don't ever try hot glue. I meant to say, what's it called? Yes, glue stick. You can smear some glue stick in the area that you print just to, act as a releasing agent, and it will work fine. Acetol, don't even think about it. Acetol only sticks to itself and your tears. Don't try acetol unless you wanna go insane or nuts. Jokes aside, if you want to print acetol, you can try a sheet of PETG as the print surface. If you have actually, even if you don't have a dual extrusion, if you don't even have dual extrusion, you can just try M600. But if you want to print acetol, PLA sticks even actually better than PETG, but PLA is really soft, so you will have to keep your bed under 50. But with PETG, you can keep it around 70. And ABS doesn't stick to acetol, don't even think about it. I haven't tried polycarbonate since it's so hard to print. And I actually bought some polycarbonate, by the way, and it's fake polycarbonate, so be careful when you buy polycarbonate. I can't test it with that. But yeah, if you want to print acetol, you can try that on it maybe. Or you can just put a piece of clothing. I've heard that works, but it will be hard to keep it from warping. It's a mess. But anyway, that's with all print surfaces. Nylon doesn't work in there unless you smear a crap ton of glue on there, which is not pleasant. As I mentioned, ABS and PETG also sticks very well to it. And of course, the bottom surface will actually depend on the kind you buy. Most of them will look like glass and shiny, but some are textured, like the Prouge ones. And you can't it's not just the Prouge, you can buy them from other companies for your own printer, if you want it. But PI is a really popular one. If you want, this is usually the recommendation people will give you, because it's a nice one. It's not a bad recommendation. So the next one I'll show you is something that I'm not a fan of. It's glass. And keep in mind, glass can be both a print surface and something to put your print surface on. I will explain in a second. You see, glass has the amazing property of not really warping significantly under heat, and it's also usually very flat. So if you have a terrible bed or you're paranoid about how flat it's going to be, you can just put your print surface on top of one. The disadvantage is that if you're on a Prouge style printer, this will be massively heavy compared to anything else. And of course you'll be isolating the heat a little, because it has to go through glass, and there's an air gap between the glass and this, and there's usually sometimes another one between this and the print surface. It's not that big of a deal and can be compensated by increasing your temps by 5 degrees or something, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, as the glass for the print surface, you either use the spare, where you just wash it with the soap, you just smear it all over and then rinse it. You really have to be careful. I'm not joking when I say be this careful, but just rinse it purely, not even use your hands to rinse it. Just rinse it like this from the corners and just dry it off with some paper towels or something. Don't make sure to get no kind of rubbed off paper towel on it. And this will usually work very great for PLA and PLA only and nothing else, in my experience. PETG, I have not tried it. I've heard it actually can rip chunks of your glass. Overall, you only really... Oh, look, you can see my reflection here. Spooky. You really only do this if you you explicitly want very shiny print surfaces. Even then there's PLI for you, but it's a thing people do. Again, it's all about tastes. It's like burgers and lasagna. Not anything like, say, 2 + 2 = 4. There's just opinion on this. And I'm talking about my own favorites. Even though I hate this. But there's actually a good way to use this. And that is to get some PVA or wood glue and mix it in with some water until you get something like slightly more, I guess, what do you call it? Slightly more creamy than milk? Dense more? I forgot the word. Milk. And you usually just get a sponge or whatever you want. Sponge is the best one I like. You heat your bed to 60 degrees and you just dab your sponge all over this thing. You can maybe go this way first, then this way. It will just start disappearing before your eyes. And the milky texture will actually disappear when you do it, so it will become clearer from milky. But after you've done this around 4 or 5 layers, or just depending on how dense your texture is, just keep doing this until it gets frosty. Not like super frosty, but kind of frosty. You can experiment, see if it sticks. If it doesn't, you can add more. And this will actually last you a long time before it needs redoing. Which, if you want to redo it, just wash it off with water. with dish soap like I explained. Maybe you can touch it there because PVA glue is the actual thing doing the holding. But anyway, you can wash it again. Just do the same all over again, but it will last you a very long time before it needs to be replaced. But this is actually works good for PLA, but nothing else really. Maybe TPU. Actually, yeah, it can work with TPU, but again, not very well. I've had TPU peel off sometimes. And PETG, for PETG, it will act like some sort of release agent, but I haven't tried it. It's just what I heard from people, sorry. And the other side of this glass sheet, as I told you, can be used as like solid, like a flatty thing. That was very cool description of this thing. Is blue tape. I absolutely hate blue tape, and I don't use it unless my life depends on it. Even then, I'd rather die with honor. Jokes aside, it sticks to PLA, TPU, sometimes even nylon if you try hard enough. But then again, if you smudge a lot of glue, nylon kind of sticks to everything, but it's a pain. If you want to print nylon, get Garolette, which I'll talk about. But yeah. This is I don't want to talk more about it because it sucks to ABS PLA and you don't need to know where it sucks. And the reason it sucks, sorry if you like it, is that it sticks too well a lot of the times and it needs constant replacing and it wears down very fast and it has a gross texture. I don't like it, man. The other one I've heard of is Garolette. You want Garolette if you print nylon, pretty much. It sticks to all the other materials very well. I'm not sure about polycarbonate, but Garolette is something I've heard a lot of people talk about. So if you want to print nylon do research a lot about Garolette, but it's kind of expensive, keep that in mind. So now I want to talk more about it since I've actually not have any friends to talk about this. I don't like to give you false or fake information or just information I'm not sure on. So if you are interested in nylon, check that one out. And the other ones that exist are polypropylene is one of the examples, and I'm not covering everything. It's just the ones I've heard about and had experience and heard of. Hello everyone, Future Amy here, and I asked my friend about polypropylene, and here is what he has to say. He says that it's like glass, it releases when the temperature's colder than 30 degrees very easily, and it works with PLA, flexible ABS, PC he hasn't tried. Nylon, it technically says here it can work, I'm not sure, he hasn't tried it yet. It obviously works with PP and PETG. This is one thing I've asked, I'm not 100% sure, I just asked for them. Maybe you'll find more stuff online, but I haven't had much luck finding them because it's not really common from what I know, but it sounds very interesting. I would definitely try it if I were you. The advantage, obviously, of these types of plastic build surfaces is that they are very, very much lighter than glass. So if you have a Peugeot style printer where the bed is constantly rocking back and forth, I highly recommend you try one of these to gain like a bit of print speed. These are the main ones usually. I've seen people print on freaking cardboard for acetal too, so be creative. If you see a cool looking thing, be like, yeah, let's print on it. Just be careful it doesn't make toxic fumes or something. Because like in the case of super glue, some people use it for acetal. Just let it sit there at a hot bed, but that actually releases really, really bad toxins. So you gotta have an enclosure like I do, and ventilate that enclosure. So yes, be careful with that one. But I wish you luck. But before I wish you luck, which I will do now, actually after I wish you luck, I want to show you how I clean and maintain my beds because it's actually important. So let's go. Oh yes, I am using my bed, but come on, I live in a small room. I don't have that much stuff. But first, what you want to do is get some alcohol first. And this is an exception. The exception to this rule is glass. Don't use alcohol on glass. Just use birthday soap, dry it off, and use this at that. Alcohol will ruin the adhesion on the glass only. But you get some glass and some tissue. And whoosh. Whoosh. I actually recommend you something other than a tissue if you don't have it, but it's fine. These will sometimes leave, like paper towel is slightly better, but not much better. But these will leave little tiny stuff on it, whatever they're called. I can't believe I forgot the name. Little tiny paper bits. Anyway, boop, boop. You spray alcohol. Clean it like you always do. This is the wrong side actually, but who cares? I'm just showing you. This isn't the important bit, by the way. The important bit is what I'm about to do. If I hadn't lost my glue stick, I swear I put it here. Skip this part. Skip this part. You get a little bit of glue stick on anything, like even if it's PI, just like on anything, trust me on that one. It's a secret thing I learned from Maker's Muse. He's really awesome. You should check him out. Boop, 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 boop. I usually just do this, honestly. Just do that or that, it doesn't matter. Don't use too much. You don't want to use it as the print surface. You want to barely coat it. And make sure your tissue or whatever is plenty lubricated with alcohol, because it will otherwise start sticking. But don't go overboard and just start smearing this all over your print surface. If you got too much somewhere, you can start trying to push it off. But you don't gotta be super accurate with your coating. Just smear your coating off like this. And even though it might not look or feel any different, I promise you, the times I have done this trick, it has improved everything, even ranging from adhesion to releasing what I have. Like if I don't do this with my polycarbonate, ABS sometimes bonds to it, which is really annoying to remove, I'm gonna tell you. It's terrible. But yeah, I hope you find something you like. And if you do experiment with crazy print surfaces, let me know. Have fun.